Hello, John, Happy Place. Experimentation class for you again. Painting with toothbrush. I had really good fun. This is something I did ages ago when I was young, and I was just wondering, let's have different kind of background, different movements of the brush, and see what happens. So I have four examples, experiments for you. All then just with the brush, nothing else, and acrylic paint. Different movements of the brush created very different results. We work wet on wet or wet on dry. When paint is dry or paint is wet, we mix it and see what happens. If you have any children in your house, I'm sure they will love that. So you can create few if you want, like I did for small, because I wanted you to have flavor of different effects and working with different colors and different backgrounds. But you may be creating one big one. Maybe it's one technique from those four. You'd be like, yeah, I'm doing the big one from that. So have a go. I'm looking forward to see what you create. Bye bye. Okay, so let me show you first how I set up for this project. You may want to work differently, but it's just about having paper, and I have two pieces of paper. This is watercolor paper or mixed media paper will do. And I just tape it around, and I put tape in between, because what I'm planning to do, having like a small pieces, final pieces, quite small, abstractish, and I can use them as maybe as gift tags or bookmarks, or I can use them in art, or I can just use them as a mini postcards and give them to someone. But let's just have a go. So I'm going to keep two of them not painted as in terms of the background, so they'll be just paper, and then I'm going to paint one in dark color and one in lighter for the background. So we have variety of things we can explore and experiment. So this one's going to be dark purple. You can use any dark color you want, maybe black, gray, very dark red. And I will allow this one, the dark one, I will allow this one dry. And then this one I'm going to be painting in, so I have my paints here, by the way, just acrylic normal paints in yellow, but this one I want it to be still wet when I'm going with my toothbrush and use my toothbrush as a brush. So I'm not painting that yet, but that'll be that yellow, but I want to do it directly on the paper and then go with another paint on top, so we get a little bit of mixing. Okay, so let me dry this one and I come back to you, and we try four different rectangles and with four different brush or toothbrush movements. Okay, so this is dry now, and let's have fun. So I'm using just the old toothbrush. Actually, it's not old, it's new. I had a set which I wanted to try. And already been painting with it. You can see it wasn't in this kind of color. So let's just experiment, and that will be over to you. You can experiment in a completely different way than me. So let's start maybe with this one, which I said I want in light colors. So I'm gonna go heavy yellow, but I just wanted the paint still to be a little bit wet, so I can mix directly on paper. Right. So maybe let's go with blue. A bit of blue on my toothbrush. Let me just move my paint so you can see. Blue, that's the one. So of course, it never loads equally. It's kind of a little bit, you don't know. This is still a bit wet. This one is dry, so we have different. Oh yeah, and you see, this one is great for maybe like a grass kind of image. You can see, because it's mixing it with this yellow, so I'm getting green without actually loading my brush with green. I'm not having green on my set of paints which I'm working with today. Okay, so I'm gonna clean it now in water and then just wipe off with paper tissue. And I'm thinking go with some orange, This is very fluid, this orange. So you, again, you know, if you work with acrylics with me before, you will know things vary depending on how fluid or creamy are your acrylics. And I have variety here, different brands, so they're not really consistent in terms of how fluid they are. This can be different movement this time. You know, and sometimes try press strong, use press stronger, so then you cover more. Sometimes just have that kind of stroke. Okay. And okay, I think I'm gonna add red to that later when it's dry. At the moment I want to go on our purple background. And we'll go with white. And I'm gonna load my brush with white and a little bit of pink on top of that. So let's see what happens when we load the brush with two. Of course you will mix, but again, we don't know how. And different movement this time, a bit like waves. The sea. I like that. Just cleaning it, but not fully, just getting rid of paint and trying to move again that paint. Yeah. So what I know I want on this one, but I think I'm gonna let it dry. You can also create some splatters, but this is really messy business with your brush, just that kind of movement. But your paint needs to be quite fluid acrylic paint, and if it's not, then make it more runny with water. So that's something to try. I'm gonna try with my yellow. So I have my yellow here, and I think what I'm gonna do with a wet finger, just spread it. So now it's a bit, it wasn't runny enough. Oh yeah, and you get those really cool, more like a rainy effect, rainy or snowy. Okay, it's not runny enough. That's it. Okay, so I still have that yellowish greenish kind of color me, and it's quite runny. So let's use that. Let's use that on the white samples. So see, that gives you more like full coverage. I'm just gonna mix that with orange. And let's add some blue. Okay. And I'm gonna go with blue with some purple. And I'm going to be mixing that with white directly without cleaning my brush. So this is just like a kind of ocean and sky. Here I'm going with this lighter blue, a little bit into water, wavy movement. I have some purple now. More purple, so it's got that definition. going to grab some white, make it really runny. It's too runny. Okay. Okay, and you know, you can work on it as long as much you want. I don't feel this one is ready. I want it to dry. I want to go with another layer. I'm happy with this one. It's got enough. This one, I may add some red when it's dry. But the only rule of experimentation I'm going to stick to today is just working with that one toothbrush. That's all. No, you know, standard brush apart from when I use it for the background. So let me work on that a bit more. You know, that's the fun when you can experiment, keep adding, and then I bring you back when it's dry and I'm taking the tape off. Okay, this is the big reveal. So, you know, I worked on them a bit more. I really liked splashing, and I like just tiny dab of paint to create. Here I have like imitations of flowers or something like that. Now with the masking tapes, of course, you know, it does happen that it takes your paper off, unfortunately, sometimes. So just try to be as careful as possible, but when it happens, there's not much you can do about, so you know, just accept. Oh, that's been quite good. So this one is definitely taking my paper off. And you know, you're gonna end up with those four. Well, here I have four. You can do the any size. You can do one big piece if you want. I think it's quite interesting to experiment in different ways, having different brush strokes. And it sounds weird, you know, when I talk brush strokes, I'm thinking about painter's brush, but it's actually a toothbrush we use. I'm really liking those ones. Came out quite cool. Let's take the last one off. So my plan was to cut them into those fours and leave a bit of white frame around. Okay, so that's the first one. Yeah, all with the toothbrush. Let's move to those ones are more abstractish. this one unfortunately is difficult to take off. So that sometimes may happen. There we go. That was a bit different. Again, I like this one. I meant to look, well, have composition more vertical, but actually can go both ways. This is the kind of C side. Okay, so here we go. 4 of them and the magic of toothbrush. Have fun. I think that's a great creative exploration. And I'm looking forward to what you create. It will be really, really interesting. Take care. Bye-bye.